Hi, everybody. Really glad to see you today. I'm going to share with you a toolkit that we've used successfully in different parts of Asia, in the hope that some of you might enjoy using them too. So this was originally developed. Can I just get an indication that you can hear me okay? Can someone turn on their video so I can, and then wave at me just so I can be sure that you're there and able to hear me. Oh, there's a thank you, JR. Okay, so yeah, so basically this is a toolkit that has been used for many years. And it was originally developed when I worked with Chabdai in Cambodia. So it was the first of the toolkits was called the Good Touch, Bad Touch flip chart or flip book, and it's a large scale. It's a large book that's basically been developed so that children can understand the challenges and the risks of sexual abuse and exploitation. So we all know that you can't do a child protection with children on their own. It's no good telling children, oh, somebody shouldn't abuse you. It has to be done in the context of the wider child protection community discussion and all of that. But we do know that it is important for children to understand that child sexual abuse and exploitation is there, and that they need to be aware of it. They need to be able to learn to be able to understand that this is something that's abusive and not just something that is it's not just normal behavior. So that's really important. So I'm just going to start a presentation. So let me just get this right. So this was the first one, the Good Touch, Bad Touch flip chart. Now this story is actually basically the story is about 3 children who go off to school and they learn the lessons about protection. And then as they're coming home, they meet Uncle, and Uncle is a guy who is familiar to them. It may be an uncle, or it may be just somebody in the village, but he starts to talk to them, and which is unusual for them. And then basically they've developed a kind of it develops into something which is inappropriate. So then after that, they remember the lessons that they had, and the lessons that they learned in school about child protection, and then they report it both by phone and also go back to their teacher and tell her. And then this guy is finally arrested and taken away. Very simple story, almost idealistic, but that's okay, because it still gives children the confidence that they could report it. One of the things that we're very keen to do with all our flip books is to be sure that any organisation that uses it has got child safeguarding in their organisation. So we don't want to give it out to people who might otherwise use it in a negative way. So we really appreciate one of the things that we do before we go ahead and provide this storybooks is to make sure people have got child safeguarding in their organisation. We developed this one and we were absolutely blown away by how much it was used in Cambodia. For example, in Cambodia, we had one organisation that developed a play out of it, and they did the play in a kind of festival with children, and they loved the story. Another organisation that actually did a dance of it, which is hard to explain, but it was really very powerful. And then in other contexts, in the Philippines, they developed actual puppets that we used to talk to and explain the situation as well. So that was very cool. And then also in also with Good Touch, Bad Touch, this was also translated into a number of different languages. So the first, one of the languages was actually Nepali, and they chose to do their own illustrations for it because they felt that using the Southeast Asian puppets were not appropriate in their context, and they wanted to have saris and so on. So they did their own illustrations, and of course that's entirely okay, you know, for us, for somebody to take it and to use it in a different context. So we had, in fact, it's now been translated into Hindi, Bengali, Urdu, Nepali, and Sinhalese, and also as well as Khmer, Thai, Vietnamese, Tagalog, Cebuano, and Burmese. And these can be used in so many different contexts. Imagine a large book that you can use in a classroom. They can use it in clinics, community outreach, Sunday schools, under a tree. The good thing about it, of course, is it's appropriate technology that doesn't rely on electricity. It can be used by anybody. And of course, there's also a PowerPoint version that can be used as well. So where there is electricity, but we're assuming that for a lot of contexts, it wouldn't be possible. It's been used in very rural areas. So that means that it's appropriate for that, for different contexts. So that was the first one. Can I have any comments, please? Does anyone have any comments or specifically about that one? And then we'll talk about the other ones as well. Comments, suggestions, questions? Okay. So let me just explain what happened, the process of what happens if we work in partnership. Basically, thank you, JR. Basically, if you would like to use this, there's websites, and I'll tell you where you can pick them up. There are a number of, as I say, the way that we've done it is that we can make available to you high definition pictures, which can then be downloaded, and then you can develop the flip books yourself. So you will need to do that. We can't cover the costs of that. And if you're interested in what we can do is provide a training for you online about how the best way to use it. Now, ideally, it would be good if we could do the training in person, and I'm willing to do that. But so we need you to cover. If we do that, then you need to cover the cost of us going there. But we can do it online, and basically the training explains about sexual abuse. It explains about exploitation. And so it's assuming that that the people that are doing the training haven't got that knowledge. So then we basically, when we've done the training before, it's basically a one-day training. When we do it in person, we do it with a network of different organizations, not just one or two. And so what we try to do is have the flip charts available for people by the end of the training. They can, when they've completed the training, then they receive a flip book as a graduation present, really, that they finished the training. So it means that people can go away and then they can use it in their different contexts. We do encourage people to use it and to give us feedback on how they've used it. And we found that in many situations that it's been very well used. We've, for example, in one place, they managed to get permission from the provincial school to do training with teachers, and they did it across the whole province. So that was amazing. Yeah, some people just run with it, and we've had some very good ways in which it's been able to be used. So, but I mean, anybody who's doing community outreach, this is a perfect tool really for teaching children. Very simple, very useful, and so on. I'll give you the flip chart. I'll give you the websites at the end, and then you can look it up, and you can actually see that it goes through on the website. It actually goes through the story, and you can see it for yourself. Okay. Any other questions about this at the moment? I appreciate your questions, because then I think we'll get more out of it together. Okay. Okay, the next one is, this is another flipbook which was developed in Cambodia to start with. It's called Youth Against Pornography. It was developed alongside us, which is an organisation based out of, that was the pun, alongside us, which is based out of Cambodia, but it's now in many parts of Asia and the world actually. This story is specifically about a boy who becomes addicted to looking at pornography. Now, pornography is an issue which I think is really important for us to tackle. I feel like it's a precursor. It's something which leads on to, for many boys, they want to try out what they see. And so then it can lead to boys going on and using prostitutes and separating out sex for fun with sex for comfort. So sex for comfort is what they get from their wives, and sex for fun is what you get with a prostitute. That's because pornography is so it's basically it's something which is unreal, and it portrays something which is very selfish and so on. Very little materials are available to address pornography outside of a small minority in the West, and even there, still not a lot. I think people have given up really on they feel like, well, boys will be boys, children are going to look at it anyway, so what can we do? But this is basically informing children at a young age that pornography can lead to addiction, and it can lead to other challenges as well. So in this story, this boy, actually there's one point in the story where a friend of his wants to take video or pictures of his sister, and then he realizes, oh no, this is really not good, and then he chooses to make better choices. But you know, that also is bringing in the idea of child pornography as well. So that's an additional lesson in this. These so far, the translations for this have been in Khmer, Thai, Tagalog, Sinhalese, and again, these have been used widely in schools, clinics, community outreach, and so on. And then it can be made into a PowerPoint version too. So those are the translations so far. But what we would like to do is to partner with organisations who want to use it in different languages. And then we can have, you know, more translations. So if you're keen on those, if you'd like to do that, then please let us know, because that would be awesome. Is there any questions that you have on that one? Okay, great. Mika, we can, I'll leave you my email, and then we can talk to you about that. But I think that would be very good to do that. As I say, Lee, if you're saying that you'd like to plan to translate these books into Indonesian, I'd be very happy to discuss that with you and see if there's a ways that we can get that. If you would like to do it, if you think you can use it in your context, then we can do it, really. And Wendy, no, we don't have it translated yet into Japanese yet. The languages that I've cited here, the languages that we have, but yeah, I would think that particularly the Poem one would be very interesting, of interest for a lot of organizations in Japan. So very happy to share it with you. If you think that you could get it translated into Japanese, that would be awesome. So very happy to do that. Anybody else questions? So yeah, so we're in the process of doing new flip chart developments. We actually have a partner now in Africa. They're based out of Zambia, and they've produced a good touch, bad touch with basically African characters, and we've done a new version for African Muslims. So it's got, you know, the children are more covered up, and the genders are separated, and so on. So we're all the time we're thinking about different ideas, how we can improve this, what we can do to make it accessible to a wider group. So if you have ideas about where it can be used in completely different contexts, then please let us know. We've also in Cambodia, we started developing a flip book on sex trafficking prevention, and it's called Sweetheart. So many of you will be familiar with the idea of a girl, or it could be a boy, but a girl being picked up at the school gate by a handsome looking fellow who actually, she, unbeknownst to her, he's actually a trafficker. And he wants to take, and initially it's all very innocent, and he takes her out for a coffee at the cafe, and then it becomes more insidious, and he starts off by having sex with her and so on. So it's kind of like it's a classic story, really, of children being trafficked at the school gates, and it's been replicated in different parts of the world, honestly, everywhere. So so this is to try and help children to be aware of that. This has been piloted at the moment by OzCam, but they're also hoping that we can get it, use it in different contexts in Asia, and indeed in other countries as well. So if you're interested in this, please contact me and we'll see if we can get that to you. For refugee children, we're developing a flip book aimed specifically at them recovering from war and travel. So this is basically aimed at children who've already gone to another country, and it's to help them in their process of adjusting to a new place. It's the story of 3 refugee children and their experiences of, they talk about their experiences of travel and getting to the new country. And then it talks about helping them to adjust and get over the trauma and difficulty. So with help of their colleagues, with help of their peers, and with other children in their new community. So again, if you're that's currently being developed, and if you're interested in that, then please email me. I think this can be used with different refugee children. It doesn't have to be Ukrainian, although the one that's being developed at the moment is aimed at Ukrainian refugees and Syrian and so on. There's another flip book which is being developed at the moment, and that's for it's specifically aimed at boys and young men who've been sexually exploited, understanding that they are very, that there's very little materials for them. It tends to be more focused on girls. And so this is helping them to understand. So this again can be used in a wide range of different contexts, but understanding that most of the most of the care for boys and young men is community based rather than in shelters and so on, and so it provides organisations with an opportunity to kind of educate children, boys, that many of the feelings that they're experiencing are normal for boys in their context. So that's another one. We are looking at other possibilities of books. One of them is basically recovering from trauma for children. So, keep your ear out for us. What's actually happened, I'll tell you now, is we're the organisation in Zambia. They're keen to make this into a full a website that people can come and get these different stories and information, and we're going to call it Touch Talks. Basically all the stories will come under that website rather than having separate websites. But in the meantime, if you're interested in getting information about the different flip charts, there's the Good Touch, Bad Touch flipchart.org, and then Asian Youth Against Porn.org. You can see the flip charts going through. And then if you want information on the other talks, then it'll be tahila.org, Touch Talks. So I'm effectively the Asia facilitator. So anything that you want to know about any of these flip books, you can contact me. This is my email, drglennmiles@gmail.com. Okay, so any other, do you have any materials about child marriages? Yes, not yet, no, but if you're interested and you would like to help us to actually develop them, then please do contact me, and we can see if we can work with you on developing it. I think it's a really good idea. We know that it's a huge issue in many countries around the world, and including in Asia. Yes, that's a really good idea. If you were to help us to develop that, then we would ask you to help us also develop a kind of training program that could go with it. But you're very keen, Mika, to work with you on that if that's something that you think that you or your team could be involved in. Yes, Isabel says, I think in my area, children are abused in their own household, family context. Do you know how children react when having already been abused? Yeah, thank you, Isabel. And we recognize that sexual abuse does happen often in the family context. What we found when we've used the Good Touch, Bad Touch is that children will sometimes disclose. So it's not only a prevention tool, but it's also used as a way of helping children to disclose and say that they've experienced some kind of sexual abuse. Now, what you need then is any organizations using this material need to know how to deal with the disclosure. And as you know, Mika and others, when a child discloses, it may be that it involves a family member. Now, if that happens, then the organization have to work. They have to consider what they're going to do in terms of reporting, whether it's appropriate or not to report in your local area. It may be good for the NGO to consider what to do and to think about the outcome for the family. These are never easy decisions to make for NGOs, And it's good to, if you're an organisation who don't primarily work in that area, then you will, then you'll know that you need to work in partnership with other organisations and maybe the police, depending on how good the police are dealing with this stuff. So, but yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions or comments or suggestions? Thank you for being so interactive. I appreciate your ideas, and I hope that you do contact me. Yeah, you've got, it's also, my email is also in the chat as well, but drglennmiles@gmail.com, and make a note of those websites as well, and then you can have a look at them in more detail.